But we see these recipes and we think, oh, that's what a real home cook is, or that's what real cooking looks like. And so because we attempt to do it and we can't do it, we're not a real cook. But that's not true. In this video, I will walk through 4 common mistakes that make cooking harder than it needs to be, and my tips of how to solve those mistakes, because I want you to become a confident home cook. So if you're ready, let's get into the video. Number 1, you're starting in the wrong place. Most people start their cooking journey way farther down the road than they need to. They start with super complicated recipes when they don't even know the basics or the foundations. So it's like learning how to play piano and trying to play Beethoven when you don't even know the keys on the keyboard. I've done it before. I would get a really hard recipe, I don't know, whatever, chicken cordon bleu, beef Wellington. I didn't know how to cook at all. And then I go get a really hard recipe and attempt to make it, and I just completely fail. It's not really our fault though, because when we open Instagram or Pinterest or YouTube, we see these beautiful 20-step recipes and we think, oh, I'm going to save it for later and I'm going to make it for my family. And I don't know about you, but I have hundreds of recipes saved. Most of it, actually like 99.9%, I have never even attempted to make. Because even though I am a home cook, I don't know how to make everything. I 100% don't know how to make super complicated things. I haven't made everything there is to make. There's so many recipes I've never even attempted. But we see these recipes and we think, oh, that's what a real home cook is, or that's what real cooking looks like. And so because we attempt to do it and we can't do it, we're not a real cook. But that's not true. So instead of trying to master a complicated recipe when you don't know the basics, focus on the basics, focus on the foundations. Make the same recipe over and over. I have a free guide in the description of this video and in the link in my bio where I walk you through building a pantry, 5 different recipes that use those things you have in your pantry. And those are all staple meals that I use in my own home. And then there's just different things there. So you could download that guide and practice making those recipes over and over and over. And as you're making them, you're learning the skills that go along with them. You're learning what it means to bring a sauce together, how to boil the noodles, how to maybe make this type of meat, maybe put together some Asian flavors, or how do I make a Tex-Mex, right? With the cumin, chili powder, garlic powder, onion. So the best thing to do is start with foundational recipes. I always recommend having at least 10 foundational recipes. And I call them staple recipes. And they're simple. They're chicken noodle soup, scrambled eggs, spaghetti sauce. I think spaghetti sauce should be included in that. Different things like that. I would recommend to forget about the exciting, intense recipes and go simple. Simplify it, learn the skills, and then go from there. I think what's happening there is that we are trying to memorize recipes instead of memorizing the skills that belong to the recipes. For example, if I've never made anything and I get a recipe for spaghetti and meatballs, I learn the recipe. Okay, first you boil the water, then you make the sauce, you put the tomato first, and then this seasoning, and then this seasoning, and then you do this to the meatballs, and then you bake them. I've learned the recipe, and I can repeat that recipe maybe over and over. And sometimes I know a lot of people who know 2 or 3 recipes, and that's what they know, and that's good. But what would be better, instead of just memorizing the recipe as you're cooking it, is learning the individual skills that go along with it. So you're learning how to boil pasta, that's one. So spend 5 minutes Googling how to properly boil pasta so that it's al dente. What does that even mean? What's al dente mean? So you're learning every single recipe you make, you're learning the skills as you make them. And then you learn how to make a simple marinara sauce, right? So spaghetti requires a red marinara sauce. So you're learning, okay, To make a marinara, I need some tomato sauce and maybe some basil, garlic powder, onion powder. So you're learning that I can make marinara this way, so you can translate that to a different recipe later. So it's not that you're memorizing a recipe, you're learning the skills that each recipe requires. You're learning all these little skills that then you can put together for everything else. Once you start with simple recipes, do them over and over, you'll start to recognize pattern. You'll start to recognize how to do certain things, how to make the sauce, how to do this, how to do that. And then you have these foundational skills that can be used to make any recipe. So when you come across any recipe online or a recipe video, you're not just watching going, oh, wow, that sounds cool. I wish, I'll send it to my friend Stacy, who is a home cook, and she can make it for me. Instead, you'll go, I can make that. Like, that's a new skill I haven't learned. Like, I don't know how to make tamales, how to do the mesa or whatever. You go, oh, I could do that. People think recipes teach, and they don't. Recipes will just say, okay, boil the water, finely dice an onion. And so I would not know what finely diced an onion means. So I would Google how to finely dice an onion. I would watch a video and I would learn it as I was doing it. And then I would, when I would be cooking with other people who knew what they were doing, I would ask questions. I remember I was in this Bible training school for 2 years, and there was a chef named Daniel who came on to help. And every single time I was in the kitchen, I would ask him, Daniel, what about this? How to cut this? How to do this? How to do that? How to do that? And I'm sure I annoyed him, but he was so sweet to answer my questions. But I learned so much because I asked questions. And if I don't have somebody to ask, I Google it while I'm learning. So a recipe will not teach you how to cook. And that's where a lot of people go wrong. They think if they know 5 or 6 recipes that they know how to cook. In reality, you have to take the time to practice the skills. Kind of like I mentioned in the first point, is that you have to, yes, we need foundational recipes and we need easy staple recipes, but what's more important is that you're learning as you go and you're looking things up so that the next time you go to cook and it says dice an onion, you know how to do it already. And then this one says saute the carrots. And so now you Google how to saute. So then you learn how to saute. So then maybe a recipe says dice some onions, saute the carrots, and roast the vegetables. So now you already know how to dice the onion, you know how to saute. So now you just need to Google how to roast the vegetables, right? And then after a little while, it does not take that long. If you really gave yourself 1 month to just learn skills, every time you're cooking, look something up, learn a new skill, commit it to memory, you would be a home cook before you know it. And then you also should be asking questions. Why does the sauce thicken? Or why do I need to thicken the sauce? And you'll learn like, oh, if I don't thicken the sauce, it makes the pasta super runny. Or why do I need to season every step? And then you notice, oh, when I don't season my hamburger before I cook it, it doesn't taste very good. So you're looking, every time you're cooking, you're asking questions and figuring it out. And then it becomes a skill that you have. And you can build off of everything. So you ask the question, why does my hamburger not taste so good? And you can answer that by going, oh, I didn't season every step. Maybe next time I'll try seasoning every step. So the next time you season every step and go, wow, it tastes good, but the sauce is a little bit dry. How can I fix it? So you're building as you go. Simple wins every time. So going along with the other 2 points, you want to choose simple meals to duplicate over and over and over until it's easy, until you learn, oh, when I smell the garlic like this, it's done cooking. If I go a little longer, it's going to burn. Learn the simple things first. Do not worry about learning complicated recipes. And I understand that when you're new to cooking, every recipe is complicated. But what I mean is learn how to make scrambled eggs really well. That's how I learned how to season, is through scrambled eggs. One of my teachers in college, a professor, he was also a chef. He taught us that the way to taste or figure out how your spices go together is to use them on scrambled eggs. And that's how I learned how to use spices, with scrambled eggs. So learn by just making simple things. Here's some ideas of where you could start. And you could just Google any recipe. I do have some in that free guide, but you could just Google free recipe. Start with spaghetti, tacos, and maybe chicken noodle soup. Start with those three. Make them over and over until it's easy for you. And then you'll start to recognize, by learning how to cook simple things over and over and over and over and over and over and over, you'll recognize different things, like when the noodles are done, or I could put this with this and it would taste good, or I could make hamburger meat and for when they have tacos, the next day have a taco salad, you know. So you're starting to, you can branch out from all these simple things that you learn to make. But it's hard to go the opposite way when you don't know how to cook at all, and then you memorize like chicken cordon bleu. It's hard to go back and branch out and like do simple things with that, right? So start with the simple, repeat, repeat, repeat. It's just like building a muscle. You have to keep doing different reps. I need to like take my own advice and work out, but whatever, we're not going there. But when you're trying to build a muscle, you need to continue to do reps. Otherwise, nothing will happen. So just continue to do reps. Every week, try to make the same recipe. When I was learning how to cook, I would make the same recipe over and over and over. And actually, the way I would do it is the first time I'd cook it for myself and not change anything. Second time I'd cook it for myself and change whatever, some other spices, make it my own. The third time I'd have somebody over and serve it to them. And this is all happening within a week and a half. So I get super sick of this meal, but by the time I have the people over, and they'll give me feedback too, you have to be open to feedback. It's now one of my staples and I can move on. I'm telling you, learning how to cook does not need to take years and years and years and years. If you are serious about learning how to cook, by right now we're in what? October 2025. By January 2026, you can have 50 recipes under your belt and be a home cook, confident home cook. You do not need to take a bunch of time to learn. I'm telling you. That's how I do it. I cook for myself first using the recipe, change something, cooking for myself, serve somebody right away. And then I have that recipe as my staple. Cooking today feels very commercialized. You have to have 50 knives and 50 bowls and like 5 different cutting boards. Okay, you need four cutting boards, but you need all the new gadgets. You need a rice cooker, you need a crock pot, you need this, that, and the other. You do not need all of those things. What you have is probably good enough. You need some knives, you need some cutting boards. I'd recommend wood, because plastic, you literally are cutting that up and ingesting the plastic particles. I'd recommend wood. And then you need, I would say a crock pot is like a kitchen essential. You'll never catch me without one. Crock pots is like, I learned to cook using a crock pot. So I think it's an essential. You need a pan, you need a pot, maybe a bowl. That's about it. Everything else is just as you need it, you'll buy it. But you don't be caught up in the commercialized cook, you know. You don't need 500 spices. One of the craziest things to me is when I was not a cook, I had so many spices. I'd buy new ones and go, ooh, this is good, I'll try it. And I would never try it, you know, because I was not confident in trying anything. But as I learned how to cook, I have very few spices. And I use a lot of spices, but I use the same like 15 things in my cabinet. I don't have tons of spices. Just stick with the staples. That guide that I mentioned in the description will lead you through what staples I would include in mine, including spices. But you don't need a bunch of spices. You don't need a bunch of kitchen gadgets. You don't need a pressure cooker. You don't need a rice cooker. You can make rice in a pot. You can make eggs in a pot. You don't need a special egg machine. And before I got married, I had like a ton of stuff for my kitchen. I had to leave it because we couldn't fit it in our SUV, but it helped me when I got married. I got married 5 years ago, to learn how to stock my kitchen with the things that I need, because having too much is actually really overwhelming. You don't want to cook. There's dishes everywhere. The people who keep their dishes in the stove, it's making you not want to cook. Like, that's a whole next extra step. Like, oh, I don't want to bake. I gotta get everything out of the oven. Having tons and tons of stuff just thrown about. Like, my cabinets are totally destroyed inside right now. There's not much space here where I live, so I've kind of gotten lazy and thrown them in, and it's chaotic in my brain, so I have to go in and fix that. And so I'd recommend the same for you. Make your kitchen organized. Get rid of everything you haven't needed. Well, that's hard to know if you haven't learned to cook, but I would say organize your kitchen for sure, and don't buy new things right now. Just get used to the basics and then go from there. I do have a free Alfredo class that is in the bio. It was a paid product, but I'm opening it for free because I really want you to learn at least one recipe. Practice this. The recipe, the Alfredo class, is a true class. I have like a video for it, and then I walk you through as if you're in the kitchen with me. So I say, turn on the water and let it boil. Take out the noodles. So it's really a true class. It's not like a normal recipe video. I would recommend downloading it and really just working through it the next few weeks. Then you have one recipe under your belt. You could do that one. You could do the Staples Guide. There's 5 recipes there. But you download one of them, or both. I don't care. Anything. You can download everything. But do it and practice it. And then that's a recipe that's under your belt. So the way I would recommend, you cook the same way I say to do it the first time. Second time, change it according to how you like. Maybe you don't like that spice I added or this. The third time you make it, within a week and a half, you're gonna get so sick of Alfredo, you're not even gonna want it. You can't even see straight. But by the third time, when you feed it to somebody else, you've now mastered the recipe. Cooking feels hard only because we've been taught to do things backwards. Recipes first, skills last. But if we switch that around to skills first, recipe second, you will set yourself up for success. Just focus on one skill at a time, one simple recipe at a time, and make it over and over until you're confident with it. Practice getting those skills in. And before you know it, you will be a confident home cook. And it does, as I say, it does not take years to do this. It can take a month, it can take 3 months, it can take a year. It's up to you. But if you want to shorten the time that it takes, start today, start tomorrow, get an easy recipe, practice, work on your skills, and you will become a confident home cook. All right, that's it for now. We'll see you in the next video.